We're live and recording. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Alex here from the Festival of Enterprise. I'm joined by Al Barratt from Grenades. Just about to drink some water.
Sponsored by Buxton, apparently. Didn't think that through, did I really?
So today we are pulling the pin on the pandemic. So for those of you, I mean, you're all going to know this. That's why you're on the webinar. But Alan is founder and CEO of Grenade, the world's fastest growing sports nutrition and performance brand, and #1 chocolate bar. You still the #1 chocolate bar?
You know, I've got no idea, but let's just say yes.
Yes, #1.
Actually, do you know what? We will be. We will be, actually, yeah, we will be.
Probably, isn't it?
Looking at the latest data, we've actually, obviously everyone's declined, but we haven't declined as much as everyone else has. So the gap, I think, has probably got bigger.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks first to Al for coming in. We've got Sam, we've got Nikki, we've got Chris from Leicestershire, we've got Josh, we've got Ian, we've got Kieran, we've got Frank, who is eating a white choc cookie carb killer as he types.
It's not the best flavour, but I'll still take it.
That's my kid's favourite flavour, funnily enough, both of them.
It's just not mine. It's really popular. I'm more of a chocolate chip salted caramel person myself.
Me too, salted caramel. Thank you and your team for the Easter egg. That was legendary.
We had one left over that had been attacked by what we think were rats. So we didn't want to throw it away. So we're like, I'll just send it to Alex. It's fine.
It was nice still.
You're feeling okay?
Saliva and everything.
Feel ill. It's probably coronavirus. Symptoms will pass in about 4 years. You're fine.
Right. I'm going to start off. Tell me if you can hear this loud and clear. I'm going to just play a little clip that somebody sent me at 10 o'clock last night, to be fair to them, I will say. Not just him, but to them. So let me know if you can hear this loud and clear. I'm going to put it by the speaker. I'm going to turn the volume right up. So this is like the first question, I guess. Here we go.
Yeah, ask him about, is it possible for him to ever just speak a normal sentence without making really, really crap jokes? And if he wants something more serious, ask him about the giant hot air balloon that he thought was a good idea to purchase, along with the tank and his other mad schemes that he wants to get involved with.
I've got a question back for James Haskell, who clearly that was. Could I ask him why he's such a massive wanker? Tell him to shave that beard as well. That beard's ridiculous.
It's massive.
He looks like Hagrid from Harry Potter.
That's a good one.
He's like a low-end Hagrid. Actually, yeah, let's say the low-end Hagrid. He actually said I look like Mr. Bean on gear, to be honest. But ask him about his cheese story. Ask him his favourite cheese. And if he'd rather eat cheese or have sex with his wife.
Oh, Jesus.
Isn't it? It's gonna get very personal.
It is. After one question, he gave him two. You've given him about 4 back.
Yeah, Chloe Brie. Oh, yeah, Red Leicester.
James, that's coming back at you. I'm going to record that and send that as a VM.
Do I actually have to answer that question? I forgot what the question was now.
Hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon. Yes. So being made at the minute, it's pretty much done. The pandemic has not stopped us making a giant Grenade branded hot air balloon, which I think is going to be the tank of the 2020s, basically. So yeah, it's quite sexy. I just need to find
insinuating you'd failed.
Is it what?
I thought he was insinuating you'd failed when it came to the hot air balloon.
Oh, no. Well, it hasn't taken off yet. We've succeeded in making it. We haven't succeeded in flying it. So maybe that's 2 separate things. Maybe we should do a flight in it first and then judge success on whether or not we survive. I have actually, statistically, I can't die in an aviation accident. That's a fact because I've already been in one. So
yes.
Chances of being in more than one, well, I've never been in a hot air balloon crash, but I have been in a plane crash. So chances of being in more than one, I would have thought it's pretty slim.
I didn't know you'd been in a plane crash.
Yeah, so yeah, that was late 90s flying back. I wasn't flying. I learned to fly after that because one thing that you want to do when you're in a plane that's crashing is to learn how to fly one. Luckily, the guy who I was flying with did know how to fly one, and he safely landed it in a potato field in Aston Camplow. And clearly I wasn't killed, but I was obviously severely brain damaged. So years later, then we developed Grenade. But yeah, so that's my plane crash story.
Wow.
Myself.
I never knew that. I mean,
you want to listen to my podcast? That's been on my podcast.
Has it? I missed that.
I think. Do you know, it might not have been actually. You know me, I never talk about myself.
No, never. So let's talk about, as it happens, today is 10 years to the day that you rocked up with your tank. Was it at the NEC at the Body Power Expo?
Yeah, NEC Body Power. We were absolutely skint. We got about, well, we started with 500 quid. We got about 27 quid. We spent £12 of that on 2 t-shirts, which I still have. I'm not sure Jules would still have hers, but I've definitely still got mine. 12 quid on 2 t-shirts, and then we stood there with a tank and a product, not really knowing what to do, but we had a really good product and a brand that we liked, so hopefully others would. And yeah, we rocked up with a 17-ton Abbott self-propelled gun, drove it into the NEC, set all the smoke detectors off because it was billowing smoke. God knows what they were running it on. And yeah, that was 10 years ago to the day, so quite a lot's happened since then. Yeah, and we were obviously talking before we started, and if anyone has seen that picture, it's on LinkedIn and it's on my Insta. But it does look like I'm wearing exactly the same clothes today. I'm not, but they are similar.
Show us the shorts then. Come on.
So, well, this is our sort of latest grenade t-shirt. So it's kind of got the black and not the orange. And then literally, I'm still wearing camo shorts. So different camo shorts from back then. But we were just saying that clearly my dress sense was shit then. It's shit now, and it's not changed in 10 years. But at least I'm consistent.
You are consistent, if nothing else.
Consistency is key, if nothing else.
And I don't know, you probably haven't even had time at that. I mean, we've all got time on our hands at the moment, but as we were saying, off air, never been busier. Have you actually taken the time? Are you going to take the time over the weekend to actually kind of reflect back on things? And does that seem a lifetime ago or yesterday?
I think it's going to be a crap answer, but yeah, I mean, a bit of both. I mean, it does seem like a long time ago because so much has happened. But yeah, I mean, again, I remember the day so vividly. Yeah, it could have been yesterday. I'm not very good at taking the time to reflect on things, and I should do. But this weekend, actually, I'm working. I've got some of the team coming over, and they're bringing over some new flavours of energy drinks, and we're having a socially distanced NPD session, which we've been doing because some of this stuff just has to carry on. So we've got a bit more space here to spread out than at the office. I think, and we might try and have a cleverly spaced out, socially distanced gym session as well, kind of taking it in turns and stuff, because I'm quite lucky. I've got a very extensive gym here. The guys are getting trained for 7 weeks, and they're I'm looking forward to seeing them. Actually, I've been seeing them every day on Zoom. I miss the team. I do miss seeing the team face to face. I do miss that.
And how many of the team have you got? Is it something like around 100? Am I right there? And when things happened, how did you react?
So there'd be about 72 of us in the UK. We've got a bigger team than, obviously there's more in the US, and we've got 2 in the UAE. And we've got a few overseas, but yeah, UK sort of 70, 72. And again, when it happened, I mean, it wasn't a huge surprise. This was kind of from obviously early January. This was newsworthy and potentially sort of spreading. So we did kind of plan probably from late Feb. We planned for the worst of a potential outbreak. I'm quite lucky now. There's lots of people in the team far cleverer than I am that do tend to plan for this sort of stuff. So everyone had obviously got laptops and can set up from home, and most people at Grenade are working from home in some way, shape, or form anyway. We never really call it work-life balance. We call it sort of work-life blend. Lots of stuff is happening on a Saturday night and a Sunday. So I think generally people who are working at Grenade are kind of always working, if that makes sense. So it wasn't a huge shock. Obviously not ideal, but the team have done brilliantly with it. Absolutely brilliantly with it. No one would have ever wished this situation on any country, and certainly on our country. But I do think, I know this is obviously the topic for today, but I do think that we've got an amazing opportunity here to have a bit of a reset. Both, I don't want to get all holistic, but definitely for the planet, as individuals, businesses. You've got a free pause button here. And like I said, we would never have wished it at all. It could happen to any of us. But I think while we're in it now, we have to try and make the most of it and learn. And actually, I put a comment on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, I think, which actually everyone's loved. I wish I'd trademarked it. And I just said, 2020 will be the year that we lost a year, but we gained a lifetime of perspective.
I like that. I saw that, yeah.
Do you know what? I have learned more again in the last 6 to 8 weeks than I've probably learned in the last couple of years. I think, hopefully we all have good and bad. It's a time to just learn. And actually as well, it's a bit like being a startup again, which I like.
Yeah.
I really like that. I feel now like this has happened and I'm kind of more of a wartime leader than a peacetime leader. So I kind of feel now that's it. We can sort of rally the troops. We can learn, and it's kind of us against the world again. And with Jules and I, it was always Jules and I against the world. So I kind of feel like now it's up to us to sort of go out and really think. And while so many of the brands are in disarray and not sure what to do, and also there's all the doom and gloom and all the moaning and stuff, there's loads of positives. You just got to look for them.
No, I totally agree. And I almost had these moments of feeling guilty during like the last 6 weeks because I have taken so many positives from it. Same as you, but I didn't articulate it quite so well in a LinkedIn article. But I definitely have taken that time to reflect and kind of remap out how, like, my work-life blend or balance wants to be, and different vision of the future from what I'm doing. Being like massive positives, to be honest with you, and you almost feel guilty about it some of the time because I kind of got away from switching on the news now, and then less of social media scrolling because that just kind of reinforces the negative agenda that the media seem to have of rehashing these stories with a negative spin. And
they love it, don't they? I honestly, don't get me started, but that they love it, and all this talk about the app and trialing of this app and whatever. We've got one. There's 3 million subscribers. I've been updating this app for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And I don't know, they've not mentioned it. In fact, the news, I don't think ever mentioned this app at all once. Someone invited me to this app about 6, 7 weeks ago, like within the first week.
Yeah.
One of the hospitals in London had done it. And it was a bit clunky. They refined it quite a lot. But yeah, it takes 2 seconds. You go in, you report that you're well. They know where you are geographically. And actually, it's really important that, they know who's sick, but also they know who isn't. So, you report you're well. And if you had a test or not had a test, and I haven't had a test because I'm not nil. So you report that. It takes 5 seconds. And there's 3 million people doing that. And they've reported on that once.
No.
I don't get that. It's like they really want the doom and gloom. And I've got a horrible feeling as well that because mass market media and newspapers and the big media organisations have really been struggling and declining over the last few years.
Yeah.
I kind of get the impression they're loving this and they're just absolutely clinging on for dear life.
Yeah.
While they've probably got so many consumers watching the news. I think they're wasting it. They're wasting the opportunity.
They are, because they could put a completely different spin on it. Agree with you, but they're all, and by individuals who've got their own agenda as well, aren't they? So I mean, we could go down that road for quite a while, couldn't we?
There's so many things. I mean, I get, and they were saying yesterday, and I think, and I did a LinkedIn post about this as well. Actually, I think again a lot of the questions from journalists have just been absolutely appalling. The government far from perfect. I don't think they've done a great job. I don't think they've done a bad job. I think they've done the best job they could do in the time, bearing in mind they had this thrown at them. And again, who'd want that job? So yes, it's very easy to stand and criticise, and especially with hindsight, because with hindsight, we all would have won the lottery last weekend, wouldn't we? Because we know the numbers. So people actually forget that some of this stuff, takes time. And there was a journalist that popped up last week, and how, I can't remember who was answering the questions, but if it had been me, I'd have just walked off. They were criticising them for building the Nightingale hospitals because they're not being used. And you think,
yes, I saw that. Yeah.
That's a stupid question. Yeah. Then the next one, because again, if we hadn't built them and then the NHS went over,
then, wouldn't you? Yeah.
So, and the next question I think was, what exact time and date did we pass the peak? And if anyone else says, when's lockdown going to end? I'd have just said, June the 7th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that convenient? I mean, just absolutely stupid questions that they don't know the answers to. That's been really poor, I think, to be fair. And I've noticed a bit of a shift the last few days. The media seems to be being a little bit nicer because we're getting quite a lot of criticism for it because they've just been hated.
And rightly so, to be honest with you. Don't know if you've seen that. I saw a load of friends posting.
And was it a load of friends, Alex, or was it one friend?
One
friend.
No, a couple of Irish friends posting Aer Lingus packed with passengers, and I was saying it got quite closely connected to the aviation industry. Have you seen any of those as well? And I was just thinking, I think anyone was flying at the moment.
Oh, yes. So you see my post from yesterday. My LinkedIn posts are becoming legendary. Yeah, I don't really understand this. And I can't remember the exact post. So you referring to the Aer Lingus flights? With
Yeah, a few people post that, and I was just like, I don't think anyone was actually flying at the moment, apart from like rescue flights and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there's still probably certain flights if you look for them. Because I think 90% of all traffic is grounded. I can't quite. I mean, I get the repatriation flights; they're absolute necessity. Yeah, I don't get the commuting flights between. I think that was between Belfast and London, wasn't it, or something? Yeah. In London. I don't get that at all. I don't get how that's allowed, because obviously you can't socially distance on a plane because it's pointless. I don't get how that's okay. And if you wanted to book a flight, you could get one and you can fly around the world. I'm into aviation, as you know, so I've got a pilot and a plane and a pilot's license. I tried to fly some hand sanitizer and medical stuff, some masks, bits and bobs down to my elderly parents who was self-isolating in Bournemouth. Yeah. And just some food supplies, some stuff for them to stock up on. And, that would have involved me flying from Gloucester to Bournemouth, which is like a 27-minute flight. I have to sort of book in both sides because you have to file the flight plan. And they said, it's not an essential trip. If you want to go, we'll have to phone the police and we're not going to let you land.
No.
Okay. But I thought you could travel for medical reasons to support vulnerable people. Oh, well, yeah, but can you get someone else to do it? So there isn't anyone else. So, I'm going either way. I'm either flying or driving.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to drive? Well, that's statistically not as safe as flying. Anyway, they said, that wasn't allowed. So in the end, I just drove down.
Did you? Yeah.
That took me 6 hours rather than half an hour. The reason was that, and this is me flying solo. So, and I've got the keys to the hangar, so I would turn up to an empty hangar, let myself in, get my plane out, doesn't need any fuel, fly there, leave it at the other end for my parents, see no one, and fly back and drive home, not see a single soul. That's not allowed. But you can jump on a plane with 300 strangers and then walk straight through Heathrow and not get checked at all from another country. I don't get that at all.
That's just nuts, isn't it?
And there's so many, and I don't want to rant at the government, but there's just so many inconsistencies that don't make any sense. So I can't fly solo, but you can fly on a plane full of people. There's 15,000 people a day walking through Heathrow unchecked as of yesterday. And bear in mind, they've been checked at other points on their route, but no one's been checked in the UK. They're sort of talking about it now. But I can't go for a walk with a neighbour.
Yeah.
In this park, you can't anyone else come out. So I don't get why you can do one and you can't do the other. I would hope I'm fairly intelligent, so I can work this stuff out.
Yeah.
Yesterday, just talking about the fact, just let the British public make their own mind up. Maybe that's more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think now over the next few weeks, people are just going to start to make, hopefully, just sort of sensible decisions for themselves.
I think so. Yeah.
Because I've interacted with no one. So if I've interacted with no one over the next few weeks, why can't I interact with someone else who's interacted with no one? Yeah. Because we can't be locked up forever.
No, exactly.
It doesn't really make any sense. The airline one's a really frustrating one. I think we might have something harsher, quicker. And I think there's so many kind of authoritarian type regimes, not naming any, around the world. Don't upset the other countries again, but have actually really locked down the population quickly and quite aggressively.
Yeah.
And that's probably worked better than us kind of being a bit wishy-washy about it.
Yeah. So were you, was Bournemouth Airport open then, essentially? You could literally just fly down. I didn't know your parents were down here, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As of today, I don't know. I suspect... Again, I guess if you book in with a flight plan, but again, having that reason, I guess so. Gloucester is shut this end, but I can get sort of permission. I can use Gloucester when closed. I've got like an insurance liability to do that. But again, you've got to sort of a really good reason. But I can't take off. I can't land the other end. So again, it's not a first world problem. But this is just some of the stuff that's actually going on. And I think one of the reasons, like I said, they said you couldn't fly down was if you have an accident, you need emergency services.
Yeah.
Well, I get that, but you could say about anything, couldn't you?
You could. Yeah.
And also, I think waste of police time. Yeah, I get that, granted, but I think that was the specific week that the police were policing aisles in supermarkets near me, telling consumers what they could and couldn't buy. Which I don't really understand either. I wouldn't get that either. Use of their time, because if you're in the shop and it's open, surely you can buy what you want.
Yeah, I know.
can't buy a cat basket. It's not essential. I didn't try and buy a cat basket, but that was an example I saw online. Somebody was buying a cat basket, and I got absolutely berated on social media. And you just think, well, she's in the shop. It's open. Who cares?
Who does care?
Yeah.
Who does care?
You can buy bread. You can't buy a cat basket.
Oh man, yeah, I've seen like Bournemouth. All we've seen is like pictures down near the airport, like BA and Virgin have just like parked a load of their planes there.
They have, yeah.
Loads, absolutely loads of them.
Yeah, when I went down actually. The last time I flew in there, I think was just early March, I think. And yeah, there were loads of Virgin planes lined up. Some have got the engines sort of spinning, yeah, they're parking them there because obviously not flying, and they've got to park them somewhere. And I guess it's cheaper to park them at Bournemouth than Gatwick.
Yeah.
So they've got to line those there. But also as well, on another note, I know that this will apply to people with the likes of MOTs. Things like MOTs, you know, an aircraft has its MOT, it's called its annual, and it's like a 3 to 4 week piece of work that's done every year. And they basically strip the entire plane down and rebuild it again. And it's obviously quite critical for safety. All that's gone out the window. Doesn't matter now. Don't worry about that.
Really?
Like MOTs, don't worry about it. But think, aren't these quite important? So if they either are or they aren't, but you can't say, yeah, it's critically have this stuff done normally and then now it doesn't matter. I don't really understand that either. You know, these things have to be kind of flown and used because otherwise it makes them quite dangerous. I can just see lots of planes plummeting from the skies in the next 2 years because they weren't serviced.
Yeah.
Because they're not allowed, because it's not essential.
Well, you obviously must have seen the news, Virgin Atlantic, like my old boss, Richard, and good friend of yours, and you've seen it, spent a fair bit of time with him, you and Jules, over the years. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, everyone's got their problems at this time, but that's like when you're in travel to that much with a travel company, an airline, a cruise line, a hotel business, it's like, wow.
They do. Do you know what? I feel sorry for him actually. And I'm probably going to be really unpopular for saying this, but
no, I'm the same, mate. I'm the same.
I know Richard well. I mean, you'll know that he's one of the nicest, kindest, hardworking people you'd ever meet. And I say that genuinely from the bottom of my heart. He is lovely. I've seen how he is with his staff and the stuff he does for charity, and the money he gives, and all these talks he gives. All the money goes to Virgin Unite. Doesn't have to do any of that at all. And yes, he lives in the BVI and he's lived there for decades because he likes it there and he's a resident there. And if we were all him, we'd all probably be living there as well because the weather's amazing. It's nothing to do with tax dodging or whatever. That might be an element of it. But in terms of all his businesses, I know pay tax in the countries that they are. There's this big thing about him suing the NHS, which is kind of true, but he had no choice because that particular NHS trust were corrupt. And he had the best bid, didn't win. He knew he had the best bid or suspected he had the best bid. And they gave it to someone else, which was hundreds of millions more. And the only way he could flush that out was by threatening to sue them. And the minute he threatened to sue them, they caved and paid out. And he then used that money and gave it back to the NHS. So he exposed the scam and gave it back to the NHS. But all people see that read the tabloids is, oh, Richard Branson's. Yes. So it's just this is the thing I hate about social media. It's an absolute platform for idiots that just don't know, the actual facts or aren't interested in the facts. I mean, again, the amount of people, he should use his own money to bail out his own airline. He actually kind of did, in the sense, I think he put $250,000 of his own money in, which I think was proportionately way more of the airline than he owned. So put in as much of his own money as he could. And I know people are going, oh, he's a billionaire and he needed a few hundred million. He's only a billionaire because of shares in a lot of these businesses that, as you know now, are pretty much worthless. He probably couldn't sell Virgin Atlantic for a tenner. No. If he tried. So that £1 billion fortune was now a tenner. So you can't buy yourself out with money that you borrowed off yourself that you don't have. So the assets he does have, like Necker, again, he offered as collateral, and I assume that he wanted a loan off the government, didn't get one, so no choice but to make all the staff redundant. I mean, I can see both sides. There are a lot of kind of wealthy people out there that aren't putting their hand in the pocket when that they can. Maybe there's an element of that with Richard. I don't know, but as far as I can tell from what I've seen, he did sort of more than enough. And I hate to see actually genuinely nice people just get berated by the media.
Yeah.
And in terms of like, you know, the thoughts on sort of the Virgin network and stuff, and I know quite a lot of the Virgin team and Virgin Unite, you know, as you will. They're just some of the nicest people I've ever met. I feel really sorry for that, you know, the whole situation. And I cannot think of anyone who would have had a worse business portfolio for COVID than him. I mean, just put 3 billion into 2 or 3 cruise ships.
Yeah.
That are either not built or sat there empty. So, I mean, again, hotels all empty,
Brutal.
plane, not flying. We just must go on and on and on. I mean, God, just again, actually, there's a learning for you. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. In this case, you know, leisure and travel.
That's right.
Who'd have thought global travel would stop to this extent?
I know, literally shut down. You know, and you think of the size of like the Emirates fleet or something like that, just like parked up, just insane, isn't it?
I do think there as well, and again, this might be sort of probably fairly unpopular as well, but I did see that there were, you know, sort of, I think 900 airlines as of pretty much now, and then I think by the end of June, they're expecting about 300 global airlines, something like that. Some of these airlines, to be honest, like any business, were far too fragile. I mean, IB couldn't survive the first 2 days of this. I mean, it was not it just wasn't a viable business. And it should be, we live on an island. So I can't quite work out what's gone on there. I suspect over the years, there's been so much debt shoehorned into that business that it just couldn't possibly pay the debt back that it was in. Otherwise, I can't imagine, you know, why that wasn't doing well. But I did see a comment at the time when Flybe unfortunately shut, and the cost of a flight from sort of, you know, Bristol to Manchester or something like that was like a third of the price of the cost of a train ticket. No, really. And you just think, that doesn't sound right. And you're sort of one of the pilots, and you think, I wonder why this business hasn't worked. I can, you know, go on the train and pay 200 quid, or I can fly up there and it takes 20 minutes. It's a tenner. Yeah. And you just think, wouldn't you pay more than that? But I think, unfortunately, as well, over the last few years, with all the budget airlines, it's really instilled in people, they do not want to pay for flights. And I think it's encouraged a lot of kind of almost commuting between countries. Yeah. Just for silly amounts of money, like 10 quid, and all these flights around the world for, you know, 10, 20 quid. And I know that people want to get to places cheaply, but it's absolutely killing the planet. And, you know, to fly plane loads of people around for a few hundred quid just doesn't really make any sense. So, you know, could that have continued? Probably not. With the situation that we're in now, I think it's going to go back to probably air travel again being less frequent and a bit more expensive, but maybe that's a bad thing.
No, I was chatting to somebody last week who has a global business and a VC fund as well, and he was saying, you know, I used to fly, you know, to a different continent for one meeting, and he goes, if that brings that to a stop, then that's one positive that's come out of this, because that's just ridiculous, you know. Yeah,
I completely agree. And to be honest as well, while we're talking transport, I still can't understand why HS2 is going ahead. I couldn't understand why that was going ahead at all. Again, 110 billion, and it was going to shave 10 minutes off a train journey. And wouldn't you blanket without Wi-Fi and decent phone signal? I actually said at the time, blanket with 5G, but I've probably changed my mind on that one. But certainly, you know, I live in Stratford-upon-Avon and work in Solihull, and it's an hour's drive, it's 30 miles, and I cannot get a phone signal end to end. It'll drop out in 3 or 4 places, and I can't understand that for like one of the 5th biggest economy in the world, and I can't make a phone call anywhere. I'm going to spend 100 billion on HS2. I don't want to jump on a train. I want to make a phone call. Yeah. So I find that a strange decision as well, especially for all the damage it's doing to the countryside and ripping all that up forever. And I also can't understand, again, prior to all this, why so many smaller airfields were closing as well. Because once that infrastructure's gone, it's gone. You know, we're an island. And I think we've learned from this that, you know, we've actually got to start being a bit more self-sufficient. Because I know it's a very, you know, global economy now, but we are far too reliant on other countries, many of whom we don't particularly trust.
Well, even when it was talking about fruit picking, wasn't it? And I was just like, I can't believe that there isn't a workforce in this country to actually pick our own bloody fruit.
There must be.
It's just nuts.
Yeah, there must be. And I asked them actually about this fairly locally, because I live sort of near the Vale of Evesham. And those actually fruit pickers, if you're good, can earn really good money. But yeah, maybe people would rather be sat at home and not doing anything. It's flying thousands of migrant workers. It just doesn't seem like a very sensible thing to do. And And especially when people have been worried about where food is and there've been, food shortages, whether it's Brexit or COVID. And certainly I think what's happened over, the last couple of months is everything has been here food-wise. It's just all in the wrong place. You have got that food, but it's not picked, or at one stage there were no eggs, or there were eggs, but all of the eggs, for instance, that were going to the hotel and restaurant industry are all closed. Needed to go to the shops, but there were no boxes because they were in trays, and there were no boxes to put them in sixes, and it's just like all these little logistical things. But it's amazing, isn't it, how there's been this huge war on plastic over the last 5-10 years, and rightly so, and all that's gone out the window.
Yeah, it has, isn't it?
Disposable gloves and masks and stuff. Imagine when all they start popping up in the oceans in the next few years. There's about 2 trillion disposable gloves, weren't there, in the sea?
You're right. Right, I've got ridiculous amount of questions which you'll never get through, but I will dip into them. Nikki's and I will go back, guys. Thank you for all your questions, appreciated. Nikki's asked a few, and this one just ties in with what you just said. Actually, she says, "Do you think this crisis will have boosted preference for locally sourced ingredients?" And I saw a picture of your garden. Actually, I think it was Al, with the lavender, or no lavender anymore.
Yeah, I do actually, and I've got a veg garden at home, and I'll just to sort of give you some context to the story. I live next door to a farm now, but 15 years ago, when I first bought a house next to a farm, a different house, I quite liked how self-sufficient they were, just like having wood burners and growing fruit and veg and things like that. I'm really into health, obviously, and I just like the fact that you could be sort of a bit more self-sufficient. Then when I came over to Stratford, and again could have a veg garden, have log burners. It's quite a modern techie house. I've got super fast broadband and all that stuff, but I just like some of the old school stuff that just works. So I've got a generator here, so we get a few power cuts, but then it's still got the electric. But also I like the fact that I've just got like a wood burner, and I can go over and I can light it with a match, and it works, and I'm warm. So when your central heating packs up, which it does from time to time, as people do, this stuff quite works. And yeah, from a self-sufficient food perspective, quite lucky. So I've got a gardener here and like a little sort of a veg patch. And as soon as this kicked in, and I got a huge lavender bed, which was just coming to the end of its life anyway. We were talking about what to put in there. I said, actually, let's just fill it full of veg, because at least then we can give it away in the local area. Got lots of elderly and vulnerable people around here. So there's been a lot of lettuce at the moment. So I've been taking lettuce around to neighbours who are probably sick of me turning up with lettuce. But yeah, any excuse not to go to the shops. And I just like eating stuff that's been grown here, that's not been sprayed with anything. It's got 0 food miles, and rather than probably having a lettuce that was, maybe grown somewhere in Eastern Europe and has been picked early and flash frozen and driven all the way across Europe and then to pop on my table, you can just avoid all of that. Yeah. So, and actually, when you've had stuff that's just freshly grown out of the ground, and it's really simple and cheap and easy to do, it's quite therapeutic. Once you've had that as well, you don't really want the shop bought stuff because it doesn't taste of anything.
No, it tastes of water, doesn't it? I find.
It just doesn't taste of anything. So I'd encourage anyone to do that. And I think, like I said, we've got to go back to doing some of this stuff, because it just makes sense to be that bit more self-sufficient. Definitely. I'm not really very good on relying on other people. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'd just like to know I've got this stuff probably coming myself. And like I said, it's just really therapeutic as well.
Nice. Frank says, how are you engaging with shoppers at a time where shopping missions are so different from their normal patterns? Good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So yeah, the best thing about Grenade is the fact that we've got we had 100,000 distribution points, 100,000 retailers in the UK selling our product. COVID happened, and then the worst thing about Grenade was we had 100,000 who weren't selling our product. Yeah, that's been really tricky, and again, it hit the supermarkets really hard. So all the footfall is down at the front of store by about 50%. We've spent loads of time and effort getting our product from the back of the store to the front of the store. The front of the store then was the best place to be, then it became the worst place to be. All of the sexiest places in the UK that you could think of having FMCG food and drink products, like airports and train stations in central London, all became the worst places to have food products. They were all shut or empty. So everything shifted really quickly. To give you context, March was the best month we've ever had. Not the last week of March, but March as a whole before this really kicked in, because it took a while to kind of slow down and stop. April will not have been the best month we ever had, so huge difference. But keeping the relationships going with the retailers, learning really quickly what shoppers want and what they're doing. It's always difficult, with all due respect to the retailers, to get them to make good decisions quickly, because there've been so many spiky, weird sales things that have happened that shouldn't have happened and won't happen again, that just throws off all their data. So look at Lou Roll. Someone in 2030 is going to be looking back. He's 9 years old now, so doesn't quite know what's going on. They're going to be looking back at 2020, going March 2020. That was a good month for Lou Roll. Probably won't have any idea why, because there's really no reason other than everyone panicked. So there's all of a sudden, Lou Roll's at the front of store, and all these weird things happen. The biggest shift we've seen, of course, now is from consumers going, buying products in stores and buying, a bar in store, to buying a box online. So our web traffic, I think, as of yesterday, was something like 975% up. It's hugely up. Amazon's hugely up. So all the digital channels massively up, which you'd expect.
Yeah.
So this has given us the chance actually to focus on, customer service and delivery and operational stuff that we always do anyway, but this has really made us focus on it, because, to give you an example, if we'd have had time to spend on Grenade.com or on, Costa, being 3,000 Costa coffees, we probably would have all spent the time on Costa.
Yeah.
Costa is shut, so we're not spending any time on Costa now, obviously. We've been able to spend time back on Grenade.com, and that's really paying off. And I imagine now as well, we'll probably keep those consumers. The service level, and I just had that was actually my call prior to this, is with someone we're talking to just about some other web development work, and he does all the biggest companies in the UK, and he said actually that the Grenade.com service level is the best he's seen in the last month. If you order up until midnight on Grenade.com, and I think it's 25 quid minimum order, you'll get it the next day. Amazon aren't doing that and can't do that. So the service that we're offering for our consumers is sort of pretty spectacular. His words, not mine, although they are mine now. So yeah, focus on digital, and I would think that that's probably not going to go away. There's certainly now a lot of behaviour that I don't think will change. I think that probably hand sanitizer is going to be here to stay for a long time. Face masks are going to be here for 12 months or so, maybe longer. You always see a lot, obviously, to go out to the Far East, since SARS. I haven't been in a petrol station for 2 months. I do everything off an app. And I think actually in future, I don't know why I go back in a petrol station now, because it's so much easier to do it off the app, which again kind of causes a problem for me as a brand owner, because petrol stations are really sexy real estate for us.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So, will that come back? Will it drop? Just something we've got to be aware of, because these shifts are pretty monumental. And for me, I find buying fuel off an app now just better and easier, because I get the paperwork for work and I just email it straight over, and there's no bits of paper, there's no receipts, I'm not touching anything, it's quicker. So I'd be interested to see what other consumers do. And I did a post the other day actually about only 9% of people want things to return to exactly as they were before. 9. Everyone has got something now that they probably, when I say prefer out the situation, but is better than it was before in some respects. So everyone's got one of those stories.
I was chatting to James McMaster from Huel, and the same question to you is, if you've been able to track like how many new customers have you got, or how much has your regular customers increased their order? Because he was saying we got a lot of people bringing their orders forward by a month or 2 months and wanting it now and in more quantities.
It's tricky for us to track, because obviously with Huel, it's all, they haven't got products in stores, or not many products in stores. So bizarrely, a lot of our consumers we don't know, because they buy product through Marks and Spencer's or Tesco's or Holland and Barrett or Amazon. So we don't really know who they are. We just ship to those retailers, in sort of by the lorry load. So this is something actually now we're learning as consumers probably come to us. We're starting to learn who they are. I wouldn't know the exact number, but yeah, we'll have a huge amount of new customers to Grenade.com, but they won't be new customers. They'll have been buying it from somewhere else, a channel that's shut. And again, this is actually one of the weird frustrations that we had prior to, just as COVID kicked off, was consumers going into stores and trying to buy 3 Grenade bars, and they were told they could only buy 2.
Yeah.
And we had really good stocks because we had all of our Brexit planning. So again, and we pulled bars back in as well that we'd ship to the US, and we quickly worked out where product was in the wrong place and made sure it was going to be in the right place. So we put something on grenade.com, just limiting people very quickly, just because we knew we'd have enough to go around, but not if somebody logs in and buys 2,000 boxes, per person, to then resell them and whatever. So we limited that. But yeah, there was kind of no need for retailers to stop consumers buying stuff they genuinely wanted. But we just kind of got lumped into, everything else and that was genuinely restricted. And weirdly, those restrictions are still carrying on. So near me, I still can't buy flour for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, and there's loads of other stuff that is just spilling off the shelves that is short dated and they're going to be throwing away, and yet it's still restricted to 2 per person, which don't understand. So it's like, you can't buy 3 because we'd rather throw it away. Yeah, is what they're saying.
Work that one out.
They just don't react quickly. This is just, I know it's harder for bigger businesses, but the agility here is such a powerful tool in any business arsenal, because some of this stuff is not that difficult to work out. You could really think this through and sort of think where potential pinch points are, just so you can get ahead of them. Product being in the wrong places. There's no point in us having product in the Middle East with all the stores closed and it's just going to sit in a warehouse. So you just have to kind of think things through and make quick decisions, really.
Yeah. I'll throw in a startup-y question from Mark, who says, we're looking to launch our supplement range next year. Would you advise to white label to start with, or look directly at manufacturing our own?
Without knowing all the specifics, it depends what you say by white label. So don't white label a product that from a manufacturer that's making that same product for everyone else in a different label. Consumers quit, and there are lots of bar companies out there that do this, and there's one, I won't say who it is, but there's one bar company specifically who have got exactly the same bar as 9 of the brands. So I don't know why you'd want that. We've come up with something probably custom that's unique to you, and I wouldn't suggest that you make it yourself, because it depends what your expertise is. If you're a great product formulator and manufacturer, that's probably what you should do. Our experience is kind of, branding and, I hate to say marketing, but marketing gets really, making sort of a brand sexy. I've got no interest in making product manufacture. I like designing and creating products and formulating products, but, not watching it go whiz past on a machine that I own because they break and they're a pain in the arse. And I've got no interest in I love the distribution and watching lorry loads of products go out, but I don't want to own a warehouse in the distribution business because I'm crap at it. These are things we've done. We've done all these things. So, we have had a distribution warehouse, and what will happen is you'll be trying to build your supplement business, and you're just going to be sucked into manufacturing issues or distribution issues. And before you know it, no one is working on the brand. You're going to be finding out where lorries are and why pallets are damaged and things like that. And this is all stuff you can pass on to someone else. You have to surround yourself with people internally, and in this case, probably externally, who are brilliant at what they do. We've got manufacturers who are brilliant at making bars. We've got a 4PL logistics facility, DCS in Banbury, who are brilliant at what they do. We just want to do the bit in the middle where we get product made, and then we kind of do the stuff that I find sexy. Which is the brand bit, and only we can do that. And if you're the brand founder and brand builder, that is your job. No one can build a brand for you. No one can do your job, so you shouldn't be doing other people's. It's a big common mistake I see people actually make, where they, especially as you start to try and scale up your business, they start kind of recruiting for roles or doing roles themselves that they're really bad at. And you should quickly work out what you're good at. That's been the genius of Virgin over the years. He's really good, isn't it? Just, I always say, conducting the orchestra, but just not running around playing all the instruments.
Absolutely.
When you start a brand, you do have to play the instruments to a certain extent, but that doesn't involve, having a manufacturing facility. That's just something you shouldn't probably sink your money into. And you have to build them and keep them running, and it's a lot of pressure. I've got a lot of friends that own manufacturing industries, and when those lines aren't running, it's a bit like planes not flying. When lines aren't running, it's costing you money. You have to fill them, whereas we can just order what we want when we want, and not worry about it.
Another question, can you tell us what changes Grenade has made to its comms strategy since the pandemic, and any tips for startups working out the best way to market their brand at this time?
So would that be sort of comms in terms of social media or email marketing, I guess?
Yeah, let's do social media. That's a good one. Yeah, I've got a few questions on that. So yeah.
So with socials, I think our social content has pretty much been sort of broadly the same that it always has been. So I think because every time you log on, you turn the TV on or turn the computer on, there's just the same doom and gloom and you know, corona stuff, which clearly, you know, has got a huge place, but people are getting quite sort of tired of seeing the same stuff. I think it's actually quite nice when you go through social media and you see sort of a bit of almost normality and some stuff that you'd expect to see from Grenade. So yeah, everyone was immediately going to start doing home workouts. So we have done a few of those, but we knew as well that other brands would potentially do it better. I mean, you know, Joe Wicks, that's his thing, so he was always going to obviously adapt quite quickly to that. But for instance, we had a great piece of custom work. We actually filmed last May with Chloe Madeley at the gym here, Body Blast, which actually was an Amazon exclusive, which launched in January on Amazon Prime. We'd got that ready to go, and we'd already launched it. And then rather than say it being just an Amazon Prime exclusive, we've kind of rolled that out to a lot of, both on socials and also to a lot of companies we work with, like, you know, Tesco and big retailers. We've provided it for all of their staff. It's all free as long as you've got Prime anyway. But we shipped all those out, and it was kind of a next step up from just a home workout, because it was, you know, it took us weeks to film it, so it wasn't just kind of quick stuff in front of the TV, which everyone's doing. We'd got a nicely formulated plan, and it was all based again around training from home and not having any equipment, so you could use basic stuff. So weirdly, we filmed stuff.
You're ahead of the game.
Really sexy content that's been really popular this year. We already had. So definitely use that and repurpose some of that. So we were quite quick to react there. And I think, to be honest, and I've said on my call this morning with the team, you know, just treat them like royalty. We always treat our consumers like royalty. They're sort of the only people in this ecosystem that matters. You know, they buy our product. So we've just made sure that they've had really good deals. We've been doing wellness deals, for instance. Like we do a product called Ration Pack, which is a very high-end multivitamin pack. You can't get good quality vitamins for love nor money at the moment. There's a huge shortage for obvious reasons, both coming from China, but also just because everyone's buying more vitamin C and that sort of stuff. We very quickly started to run out of Ration Pack, which is quite an expensive product. It's generally quite a slow moving product for us. Again, we sort of guessed that that's what would happen because vitamins were short. And actually, rather than sort of putting the price up, which everyone else has done, frankly, we gave really great deals on Ration Pack, because it's really important to me that, you know, all of our team have access to it and people have access to sort of good quality multivitamins and minerals. And that's like a 4-stage product, which is very comprehensive, that we've been selling for about 25, 30 quid, and it's a £50 retail product. So we've actually gone the other way in terms of, because one thing I absolutely detest is all the profiteering that's gone on over the last couple of months. Just in any scenario, it just really does grate me, because I'm a consumer as well, and no one likes being ripped off. So raw ingredient costs have generally gone up, and yes, our vitamin costs have gone up, but that doesn't mean to say that, you know, they haven't gone up to make a £30 product £60, £70. It's ridiculous. You know, it might be a cost of, like, you know, 30 quid to 31 quid or something like that. So there's a lot of companies that have really, you know, taken the piss. We sort of quickly started to sell out, and again, we've got a great relationship with the manufacturer of that product, and we've worked with them for years, and they very quickly ramped up for us and made sure that we don't run out, or if we do run out, it's going to be probably for a week or two. But again, I think that's available on Amazon and Grenade.com and stuff as well. So I think, yeah, to generally answer the question in terms of comms, treating your consumers how they should be treated. You know, good quality content, look after them, don't rip them off. And also, I don't like being sold to. So we don't really try and sell people things. You know, we spoke about this briefly before, didn't we, just before we went on air? I just, you know, if certain people have, you know, certain problems, whatever they may be, you know, we may make a product that helps solve that problem. And, you know, we, as a brand job, to make a consumer aware of that. without fat burning. There's no such thing as a magic pill, but it provides a solution to lots of parts of dieting that we know consumers struggle with in terms of like appetite suppression and whatever. So weirdly, our weight loss sales have gone through the roof. Just I think as people try and get in shape at home. Again, this has been, I think, a real period of perspective for health, which again, I just don't think is going to go away. And I can't imagine being in a better industry than health right now.
I 100% agree with you that a number of entrepreneurs I've spoken to over the last month or so, and I think everyone's in agreement with that. Like health wellness is definitely here to stay, and people have I don't know, maybe it's just a thing about being at home and looking a little bit introspectively for a while and looking at your own health, but mentally and physically, of course, as well, and adding a bit more focus on that. I mean, I've certainly done that 100%. Yeah.
Well, it's weirdly as well, I spoke to the local chiropractor near me, and she's had a massive surge of sort of older people who haven't trained for years, sort of hurting themselves and putting their backs out because they've started training because the government said you do an hour's exercise a day. So they actually know. So more people are probably training than ever. I feel really sorry for all the gyms and that are shut. Yes. And there's these should get open quite quickly, to be fair, because there's really sensible, I think, easy ways of opening some of these gyms where you book sessions, they're socially distanced, equipment's cleaned. You're better off having 50 people a day using your gym than no one using your gym. You could easily spread some of this stuff out and kind of keep people active, both for physical and mental health. Definitely. But I think the health stuff's definitely here to stay. And whether it's true or not, I saw online yesterday that there's a possibility, evidence coming out that will suggest that obesity and corona are a bad combination, and it could be one of the reasons as well why the UK and obviously as well the US there's potentially been a higher mortality rate compared to European countries which have got healthier lifestyles. It could be rubbish, but it would make sense.
That could be interesting.
So hopefully this again is a bit of a wake-up call for people to probably take better care of themselves.
And tell us a little bit about seen a couple of posts you put about the partnership with Ron Dennis at McLaren, and remind me how many meals you trying to help out?
So Ron Dennis and his foundation made a commitment probably about a month ago to provide 1 million meals for the NHS over a 12-week period. I didn't know Ron, but I knew Ron through someone else. And then there's the hot food and certain things they want to do there. And again, they want this to be sort of pretty healthy stuff. They don't just want kind of, certain brands of energy drinks and things like that. So they want stuff that's generally healthier. So, and weirdly, well, say not weirdly, but when they spoke to a lot of nurses, and we've heard this quite a lot actually, one of the top items that gets requested from a meal perspective is a protein bar.
Right.
So he reached out to us as kind of having the biggest protein bar business in Europe. And through a friend, and we've got lots of military friends, and they wanted this executed with military precision. And the nice thing was we were kind of doing this anyway for the NHS. So as soon as this kicked off, and we were, I think, probably one of the first brands I'm aware of. There will have been others, but I think we were one of the first to actually, before even lockdown happened, I was sat with my team, and I said, we really need to start giving some product to the NHS here, because they're going to be working 12-hour shifts, not eating much, and you wouldn't want that job, and they do it as well for very selflessly for not much money. So weirdly, as we were chatting about this with the team 2 months ago, I had a message on LinkedIn from a doctor saying we'd love to get your product and how would we do it, and we kind of started with Kate Brunning, I think her name was, and we started with Kate. And he just immediately sort of, so I put a post on LinkedIn, and we said, hospitals, wards, contact us. We set up a Grenade email for it, hello@grenade.com. Said, just send us your details, and we're just going to send you stuff, but we have to have someone to sign for it, and it's got to be, we don't want to be a pain, we don't want to be pallets of product turning up at hospitals when clearly you've got an influx of patients. So we don't want to be a pain, but we'd like to help. And I think we sent out just under 1,000 sort of very substantial care packages to the NHS anyway. which really kind of backlogged our warehouse and kind of got me into trouble a bit, because then we were trying to ship products out that people were actually paying for, and it was kind of getting pushed to one side because the free stuff was going out the door. So it wasn't the world's best business model, but it felt the right thing to do at the time. So we were doing that, and we were doing as many as we could, and we knew we couldn't do it forever. And then Ron popped up and said, you know, can you support the NHS? And well, actually, we're already doing it, but probably in a smaller way. And yeah, long story short, we committed to 250,000 additional drinks and bars that were what we'd already given. And I think it was, we sent, I think, 54 pallets just of Grenade Energy as well, which again was another product the nurses and doctors and that were asking for. It was like a natural energy drink. So yeah, we've done that, and it's going out now through a company called Absolute Taste, which Ron used to own. And there's a guy there, Nigel Harris, who's just been fantastic, and he's actually living in the warehouse. And this is entrepreneur. He's living in the warehouse 18 hours a day, and he's kind of self-isolated from his family. I think we said committed to 6 months of not seeing his family, so they can put together all these food and drink packages. And then lots of other brands have got involved now, which is fantastic. And Yola distributing it all for free. And yeah, I mean, what an amazing commitment. I've never met Ron, never met Nigel, but we've spoken.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So we're hoping at some point we might be able to meet. And I did steal the Virgin Unite line as well of not accepting the unacceptable. So I think I said something like Corona's very formidable, but so are a group of entrepreneurs. Yes. So we decided we kind of club together and all do our part. And as far as I'm aware, it's doing amazingly well. And then thankfully the hospitals haven't been overrun. But then, you know, after a 10, 12-hour shift, doctors, nurses then get a hot meal. And there's various packs. There's hot meals to eat there and then. There's meals they can take away. We've put care packages together for those who were self-isolating, so they can have like 5 days worth of meals. And then there's fresh fruit in there, and that's been donated. And then obviously, we've done sort of protein bars, protein shakes, and energy drinks as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're either going to go bankrupt or it's
vast quantities. Yeah.
When Lion Capital find out, I won't have a job anymore.
Well, look, I know you got to go. Last question. I'll just finish on. It could be a really quick answer. But Hazel says, "Would love to hear about NPD you're working on. Heard you say new flavored energy drink. So I think you just got. Is it just the one flavor you've got? Because I've had that.
Yes. So we've got one flavor at the moment, and because it's functional, we like making functional stuff. Because people have said to us before, "Why don't you make energy gels and all these things?" And to be honest, it's because it's not difficult to make. It's being kind of clever about putting sugar and caffeine together and putting the gel and kind of selling it. So we do try and do stuff that's technically harder, which is why I think the bars are doing so well, because we spend years on them, and our new reload, we've spent years on it. And this energy drink, we first trademarked it in 2012, the energy drink, and it's worked solidly for 8 hours, but 8 years rather, but it's been very difficult to do. And yeah, we've got the one original flavour of energy drink, which is kind of a watermelon type flavour, because it just works.
It's really nice. It's really clean. I couldn't work out what the flavour was. It was just really, always like some kind of tropical.
It was watermelon, because people wouldn't necessarily buy a watermelon drink, but people have it and love it, but it kind of tastes familiar. So we do that, and of course it's got branch chains and B vitamins and stuff in it. So again, it's our functional go at energy, where, you know, our carb killer bars are our functional sort of representation of chocolate. And obviously energy drinks are huge. So we wanted to try and come up with something which was cleaner, which had the benefits, then which didn't have some of the nasties in it. So we use a natural form of caffeine, actually called coffee, which is patented. And it's all this stuff's generally quite expensive and tastes like dirt. So it's really difficult to cover up the taste of this stuff in an energy drink. So yeah, we've got that one. We've got a couple more flavors lined up because that's been doing very well, and obviously it hasn't helped with retail, but we've got a lot of faith in the energy drink, and we know it's a big space, and more people just want cleaner, more natural stuff. So that's been really important. Yes, that's happening this weekend. But yeah, generally, to answer the question, I kind of oversee all the NPD. With Rob, who's got a team of people. Rob's my head of product. He's been with us for about 5 or 6 years. He's got the best and worst job in the business because he has to work with me. But no, just amazing OCD, and in a nice way. And it's just fantastic, the time and effort that goes into making some of this stuff, because it looks easy and it really isn't. Honestly, I'm not exaggerating when I say it takes years. I've just sent actually some of our new reload bars over to a friend of mine in the US, Chris Gethin, and he tried the original reload, which again, I've sold millions and millions and millions of bars a year, but we always knew we could make a better one. And it's taken us years to make a better one. And he sent me a video message this morning because his bars arrived in Boise, and he ate it on camera for me. And he's like, I just don't know how you do this. It's a 70-gram bar. It's got 3 grams of sugar in, and it just tastes like a really, really indulgent brownie.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't. He said, no one in the world makes stuff taste as good as you do. And it's for the macros as well. So it's a lot of work, but it's worth doing. It's worth doing well.
Indeed. I know you got to go now, so look, appreciate your time. It's always good catching up, and hopefully see you in person out the other side next time.
Well, that makes one of us. Alex, thanks so much for the time. Sorry to ramble on. Sorry we didn't get to all the questions.
I know, but
let's try and do another one. We'll do another one.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do another one at 3 o'clock. No, we won't. Don't look at it at 3 o'clock. I won't be here. Yeah, we'll do another one. Let's try and do one next month or something, and we'll get a catch up.
Brilliant. Okay.
Thanks for the time.
Cheers, buddy. Bye now. Take it easy. Bye now.